Hi, everyone. Linda's holding our book. We are continuing to talk about chapter 2 of Wheesht. The byline of the book is crafting in uncertain times.
Creative making.
Creative making in uncertain times. It's a lovely book by Kate Davies, and Kate comes from Scotland. So she has chapter 2 talks a little bit about her experience hiking and the seasons of Scotland. And Linda and I were talking about feeling uninspired. What did you think about the chapter, Linda?
Yeah, she talks openly too about her seasonal depression and how she coped with it by through creativity. And I'll read this quote from her book. The path out of this dark place, meaning her depression, I guess, is practical, not magical. It's a path formed of tiny gestures, small actions, commonplace happenings, and very ordinary things. It's a path of my own material curiosity, and I am perfectly capable of taking a few steps along that path myself. And then later on, the piece that jumped out for me is she talks about paying close attention to ordinary objects. And I really appreciated that idea of trying to take something ordinary and looking at it differently. And so we've talked about that in the past couple weeks. And to that point, one of her assignments at the end is to talk about your least favorite color. She's just writing an essay. I wrote a few notes, really. I just wanted to talk about it, not write an essay.
We think in bullet points, not essays.
So my least favorite color is tan. I went through my collection of leftovers a few years ago, inspired by a friend who talked about leftover stash. Beth, in fact, was at our guild. She talked about what you can do with your leftovers. So I decided to organize them according to color, so that when I needed a bit of color, I could find it easier. And so I went through all my leftover bags and saw that tan and brown were my smallest collection. And indeed, I have very little tan in my collection of full, hanks and balls of yarn. It is a color, that provides the backdrop in nature. Tan and light blue provide the backdrop in nature of all the colors out there, right? We have a light blue sky. And I thought, in my recent home decorating project, what color are all 3 of my new carpets? Tan. Because tan is the beautiful backdrop of my amazingly colorful bedspread. Look at that.
Yeah.
Doesn't it look
so
just
great.
like my trivet, my little yarn trivet from last week?
It totally does. Similar colors and everything. That's amazing.
Oh gosh, I guess I'm not a big fan of pastels in general, but it's been fun recently. As part of that same decorating project, we repainted my daughter's bedroom, and she's been decorating in all pastels. She loves the light colors. So it's been fun exploring that with her.
Yeah, it's for me, I've done a lot of color study. I've studied color, aspects of color, and how to put color together. And what I've learned is that I can find the positive aspects of every color. Like, I can honestly say I love every single color for different reasons. And I do have this tendency towards teal blue.
Mm.
And when I look at the yarns that I've purchased and bought and the things that I make, it is all in the same saturation level, the same color family. Like, I've got the cool blue and I've got the green blue, and it's like, so when I'm putting together a project that requires contrast, it is very difficult for me to find within the yarn I already own something to play off of those colors.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I have to go out and buy that tan. I have to go out and buy that. What's a good contrast for teal, right? Black or
Yeah.
white.
So even like I finished up a project where I did have this sandy tan color,
Mm.
and I paired it with an orange that was a gift yarn. So it was a very special yarn because it was gifted to me from an overseas trip. So it wasn't even like something I could
Hi, kitty.
go get more of. And I ended up taking the sandy tan, the burnt orange, which are totally not my colors, and pairing those two with kind of kettle dyed musty purple, like lavender with some semi-solid, tones. And it turned out great. I don't know if I'm gonna, I actually do know that I'm going to wear the project, but they're not my colors.
But together, they look good on you?
Well, I mean, that wasn't the point of the project,
Okay.
but um I know I'm gonna wear it because I really liked how it turned out. And it was a little bit of a color exploration for me because I had the orange. I started with the orange and I knew that I wanted to use that color because it was a special yarn. And then how to put everything together so that the three colors played well with the pattern I chose, but then also that I liked the result.
Nice. That's so interesting. I look forward to
Yeah.
seeing that sometime. Good.
It's not blocked yet, so I won't be able to.
Sure, after you block it. So it's very recent.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Um, another a suggestion she had in the book was to read this poem,
I love it.
and it's very short, so I'll go ahead and read it. It's called Between Walls by William Carlos William. The black wings of the hospital where nothing will grow lie cinders in which shine the broken pieces of a green bottle. Isn't that beautiful?
A lot of imagery.
Yeah. I guess, well, we can talk about it a little bit, but also I thought it's interesting. She gave a link at the end of the chapter to a little audio discussion about this poem.
Mm.
Certainly it seems to echo what we've talked about in terms of how perhaps it's the cinders that make these broken pieces of a green bottle shine, something discarded um, that you wouldn't expect, that's like trash, but yet it's sitting there shining because of the cinders. There's all kinds of treasures to find in very, very simple things. I remember being in a place once where I got some kind of shocking news, and for a whole week, I really was fairly incapable of doing much of anything useful. And I spent that week working on a silly puzzle called Rush Hour. Just has to do with sort of a logic puzzle, figuring out how to get the locomotive out of this bunch of pieces that you have to move around. And it was just a good exercise for my brain by focusing and being able to move pieces. My brain was able to rest. The part of my brain that was upset was able to rest. And a lot of times, if you're just really upset about something, it can help just to take your brain to a different place and focus on a little bit of knitting or some creative color picking for a new project, just kind of throwing out the normal stuff and taking your brain to a new place.
Yeah, sometimes I'm thinking like at the very beginning of 2020 when we were all starting to go through the pandemic, that I decided to try dyeing yarn with food coloring, which is something that I had never done, but I needed those big bright colors, and it was a way for me to to sort of like process what was happening outside in the world, and also bring a little bit of joy. And like I got to play with some things because I'd never done it before, and I felt like a scientist with the chemistry and dilution, which I never did in school.
Right. So that new thing, that little bit of
Yeah.
creative spark helped to get your brain over the sadness of being shut
Well, just
in and dealing with it all.
processing what was happening, because at that moment none of us knew what was happening. But
Mm.
and then like the exercise of that exploration served its purpose. Like I haven't done anything with the yarn that I dyed. I take that back. I made a shawl. So I did use the yarn that I made, which was
Okay.
cool. But there was some parts that were sort of discarded as like rough drafts, or
Yeah.
that was an attempt or my first try. And then now
Cool.
that I've done it, I don't want to do dyeing anymore. Like it really did just serve its purpose for the moment.
That's very interesting. Mm.
Okay, well, it was so great to talk about chapter 2 with you today.
Yeah, you too. Exploring the idea of being uninspired and where it can take you to and how to cope with it. So we'll either continue this next week or maybe we'll start chapter 3. We'll
Yeah,
see.
we'll see.
I hope you're enjoying the book as much as we are. Take care and look for those creative opportunities in your life.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone.